Well, got a problem here. I forgot to mark any losses that accrued to the Carthaginians in their turn. Now, I left some troops behind, didn't I? No, I don't think so. I know, oh, it would be this force. I know I had at least some more Gauls and some more other things, but I don't know how many. I can't remember. I was supposed to keep track of that with little counters, but easy enough to forget. I don't know if I'm going to reinforce. Anyway, I've raised the efficiency levels of all the Carthaginian forces and rolled my climate, and I ended up, unfortunately for me, with cautious, which means I'm only allowed two armies, one outside of Carthage. And I think that means I have to disband the other army immediately. Now that's this pile of crap here. And I can do that. Didn't have a general anyway, it wasn't doing me any good. But I'll get rid of the efficiency rating. It was good stuff, but again, it doesn't really help me. A 4-point army, I can't do shit with that. I don't know what I'm gonna do, whether I can't leave Carthage with the force that I have. If I build navies, I have too many. So I guess I'm gonna try to reinforce these suckers. Try to see what I can salvage in terms of memory. I know that I lost a decent number of forces. There were a couple of these. There was one of these, you know. I'm guessing probably not 10, but 1, maybe 4 or 5 there, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I may be 10 or 11 points down, so I can probably get a decent amount back from that. Anyway, I gotta figure out, I think I just disbanded properly, but I gotta make sure I did. It ain't that simple. Okay, so I've got a roll on the disbanding command, so I'm trying to remove an army. I guess it had no leader, so it's going to be different family. I can only succeed in removing that army on a 0 through 4. Okay, I succeeded. So now I'm down within my limits. I don't have to roll for additional armies. If I had failed with that, there would have been the possibility that I had to disband another army. Now when I disband, the leader's army must disband. Yeah, help. The SPs go and control cities in the province. If they can't do that, I guess they go back to Africa, except for mercenaries, which would dissolve. But I'm fine. I can just put this here. All right, where was I? I don't remember. Okay, now I get to roll for new troops. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but all these different contingents, they make no difference. It's just infantry and cav now for these rolls, which makes all those different contingents even less important, unless there's something in the auguries or special rules. Like the Gallic forces, they have their own special rules. All of the forces for Carthage have their own special rules, and I've picked up some additional forces. Hopefully I'm within my realm. I don't know. I got no way to remember. I gotta try to remember to put those losses in place, but I won't do it. Picked up my new units for Syracuse. There doesn't seem to be anything to prevent me from taking Greek cav here, right? Yep, they're fine. And I don't get any Libyans, and now I go back here, losing my page again to make sure that I have everything, and it looks to me like we're ready for the initiative. I've thrown everybody in the cup except for Hanno, who again can't be there because I've deployed troops. First action of the turn is an augury. We rolled political unrest in Carthage. Bomilcar decides to become tyrant and dies because of that. Remove him from the game. He was my naval leader in Carthage. And we got, because we lost a leader, we get 2 new leaders, and they're actually better. Hamilco here is quite decent. It has a couple of chits, so he'll be able to help. And then I got another Hanno, who's not terribly good. So, that's all the leaders we'll get for Carthage, though. If we end up losing leaders through whatever means, we're in trouble. On the other hand, Syracuse only has their 3 leaders as well, so no biggie there. You could end up in a position where you really can't do shit because you have no one left. I think it's time for me to call this a night. Okay, so just went through the first chit of the day, really, for me. A siege attrition, and I wanted to highlight how annoying this is getting. So this guy over here, we had the attrition. The inside forces, the internal forces took a loss, all as normal. And then we got this stupid ass thing, and this is the Carthaginian loss marker. I gotta fish out counters from somewhere else. It's hard enough dealing with all this crap. Again, would be much better with tracks. You know, it would be one thing to reduce strength points on a track and then increase this thing, and I think I'm going to remake the play aids to be tracks, because this is just bullshit. It really is. It is so fucking annoying. You know, I gotta fish out the right numbers here, and now I absolutely will have to increment some other counter that I have to get from somewhere else. There's enough shit that I have to fish through to maintain all these different types of forces. This is where it goes bad. I mean, look, you can eventually internalize the rules. You can never fix a mechanical complexity problem with a game. And in this case, this game suffers from it. However, I think that it can be completely solved. Well, I mean, obviously, there's bookkeeping in terms of moving the counters around, etc. But I think it can be almost completely solved by using counter tracks for the different armies. Okay, so the hell with that. I've done it. Obviously, I have some space down here that I could put the fleets in the Syracuse box. Or I could just cut this so that it kind of fits over on the top. This is the problem, of course. It's this lighter stock, but there are some problems with it. First of all, you can't see everything quickly. You can't add things up terribly quickly, but you know, lots and lots of counters spread out all throughout a box. That doesn't get terribly easy to see what you've got. I mean, this, I've got an idea of the force just as well, but maybe I can't tell, hey, do I have a Gaul? The numbers on the counters largely don't matter. The only difference is where there's a 10 counter, that is the 10's digit, and everything else is kind of 1's digits. And this allows me to also track the losses all on the same thing. I'm going to make very few accesses into the counter tray now, which has been really a problem. Now I could see where if I had things more ergonomically arranged, that's not really the issue here. But if I had set up a more convenient arrangement of my counter trays and tables and all kind of stuff and had a better space for all this, yeah, that may not be a problem. But with this particular game, as opposed to, say, the Rise of the Roman Republic, I find myself, my counters are all over here. That's kind of tough for me. The other one was a small map on a big table. Now, I did have the second table set up and could have used that, but that's a problem too, reaching over here constantly. And these counter trays, quite frankly, you make so many accesses into them. Every casualty and everything means at least half of the actions in the game mean that you're reaching into the counter tray, searching for things. Things get jumbled. It's just a pain in the ass. So that should reduce the effort a great deal there, and probably reduce my crankies a good deal. But also, this is huge. Now I've got a place to keep that number counter. I don't have to make an additional access to try to figure out what I'm going to use for those losses. We'll see how it works. I think it's going to work out well, and if it does, maybe we'll use tracks for all of the different army displays instead, just because I don't see much point to, you know. But the thing is, these don't hurt that much except for the counter access. My next action was a Hamilcar action, and this is interesting. I have some neat options here. Hamilcar only has 2 chits. I might want to attack Agathocles, or whatever his name is, but I kind of want to take this city now that I'm committed to it. So I have a few choices. Let's see, the operations for siege. I did the under siege. I could assault it, or I could treachery it from the old game. But I also have the reduction option, which is kind of interesting because there's nobody in there to do a repair. Without a leader in there, it's not getting repaired. But the reduction, I'm going to have a -2 due to my siege capability, and I can't increase in this scenario. And I have no siege engines, so basically I'm going to have to roll at least an 8 to do anything to that city. That seems like a waste of time. I have the treachery, so I'm going to fire off a guile. And I'm going to figure out where I took this from. I just got it recently. There's so many counters in this one. And now, I didn't mention the sallying. I think basically the defender has an option to just come out and try to do some damage without making it a full field battle. I don't have 10 times the defender's full strength here because he's got that 3 multiplier and he has a decent amount of forces. So I'm going to go for the treachery roll. I've got 6 campaign rating. The IDS is 3, so that gives me a 6. And I have a +1 for the guile point that I spent. So I take it by treachery. I think I want to sack it because I want to kill people, even if that causes me some trouble. So I'll take care of that. One aside, this track, I can tell you one thing that's a problem with it, not with this one, but in terms of an overall solution for the game, it's not going to work well for the Romans. Now that doesn't mean that the whole design couldn't have included that, but the reason it's not going to work well for the Romans is the Romans have tiny little boxes, if we can find one. It's on the back of the Syracuse troops, I bet. Oh well. The Romans have a single box for each component of the legion because they have to further differentiate. So unlike these big squares, which are pretty easy to deal with in general compared to the Romans anyway, a track would have to have some way with counters to differentiate between the infantry and cavalry strength points of each legion. Now I could put little dots or something on my markers and kind of indicate them that way, or I can make new counters to handle that kind of stuff. And it could be done a lot more cheaply than this huge counter mix. Obviously you would still need some of this to handle garrisons and the like, although not if you replaced these guys with little number tracks as well, and counters perhaps for them. But that gets ugly. This is all spatially located. If you had counters with city names on them, man, you couldn't really assess how much is in any given city with a quick glance. This, I know, this is that army. I do have to hunt down the cav in here. I mean, there are some problems with doing it this way. So I've got 3 cav, no, I've got 9 cav in here, sorry. I don't have to hunt down the numbers, I have to hunt down the pictures. Trying to retrofit the game to a better design isn't gonna work very well unless I make all new counters too. So I have to make a roll against my campaign rating of 6 to prevent my troops from looting. And I do. I'm gonna make another roll, I'll look this one up for the same for the Gauls that I have in my force. And I get away with them too, so they're not gonna go home. So this city is sacked, if I can find a sacked marker, which reduces its IDS. I don't know what happens to the Navy in there. I believe, I remember that they just kind of float out to sea. The forces, well, most of them are city garrison, which don't really matter, but these guys are killed. And the city will be mine. IDS. And I need a, I guess I needed this color. Oh, was this mine to begin with? Ah, shit, I can't. I'm never going to keep track of who's what's, because I had to leave a garrison here when I took it. Let me grab a Gaul for that. I don't know if that's legitimate or what, but these guys I can keep without a garrison. That guy can't. I forgot to do a leader. No, a leader loss check on a siege that I didn't remember. Okay, and that that's the end of the activation, because an attempt to take a city by treachery will automatically be a fail. I'm out of guile now over here, so I can't do that again. And that's about it. I should give some report of what's going on since I pulled a number of chits. Who's this? I don't know. Agathocles. He was, I guess, the naval leader. I'm having trouble telling the two sons apart. In fact, I actually did Agathocles, or whatever his name is. I'm horrible. Agathocles. I did him accidentally at first, and then said, well, no, that's not him. It's the numbers on here indicate something different. So they are actually very useful there with so many common names, especially with the Carthaginians, who all have the same name. Anyway, ran the ship back. I've got no port to put it in, and, well, I mean, I could put it in a minor port or something, but it was too big, so I got to get it back there by winter. Since I lost Panormus. And then the big guy, Agathocles, started his siege, and then a siege attrition got him in there, so on his next shit he'll be able to recover. That's still not going to really help terribly much. I don't see how I'm going to win this war against Carthage, though, in Sicily itself. This may be an impossible scenario for the Syracusans, but I'm feeling driven to the, gee, unless I drive them out of Sicily, I can't win. So maybe I have to go to Carthage, and we'll try that route. It's just, now that I'm committed and over here, I'm not near my fleet. I can't slide over into Carthage very easily. And as long as this kind of stalemates, which may be the best I can hope for, to tell you the truth, I'm going to have, you know, I'm losing the game, basically. Maybe not as severely. I had the impression that Carthage would be pushing me back without really thinking too much about the victory conditions, which seemed to indicate that, yeah, I either have to take Carthage out on Sicily, or I should just ignore it. And the cup really gets emptied out. Whoever, Hamilcar, leaves his sacked city, leaving some garrison behind. They're just Gauls. They're kind of annoying to have with you. Intercepted. No ambush, even though, because I'm in the city. It's kind of the problem. To ambush, being in rough is good. I'm usually not in rough terrain, or I forget about it, I think, most of the time. Anyway, major defeat here. Not much effect on that. That doesn't affect any of the alliances, because there are none. So, you know, there was a little bit more interest for me in the rise of the Roman Republic stuff, because of the diplomatic charts moving around. Here, I feel like I'm in a stalemate that there's just not much I can do about. I'm probably going to turn and try to sail down this way and see if I can win the auto victory, because I don't see how Syracuse can win in Sicily. Anyway, that's the end of our chits. We've got, you know, a useless force that, and only 2 more turns to try to win this game, and I'm pretty sure I can't do it in Sicily. Hamilcar's laid a siege, and let's see. Let's find the sequence of play. By the way, grump about the damn acronyms. So they're like, I don't know what the different attrition acronyms are, but there's one ALP. Sometimes I end up reading that as, you know, I know it's got to do with attrition because that's the rule I'm looking at. When you're running away, something's expressed in ALPs. Well, if you go look up ALPs, they're actually the number you get off this chart. But sometimes I look at it as, well, that's going to be my attrition points, my APs. Don't throw too many acronyms into something. Just say they lose that many strength points. Anyway. But that's really a gripe across the board with GMT stuff. They go overboard on acronyms for stuff. I think devastation recovery. I don't know when the hell we recover from sieges. I guess I have to look that up if I care, but you know what? I don't give a shit enough. So the sacked marker goes away. You know it comes off at some point, and it's probably either at the end of this turn or the beginning of next, and probably has no effect. I don't think we have any inertia attrition to worry about. The fleets are all where they belong. We do the end of turn stuff, the Legion and crew training. All the crews go up. We're all maxed out. But we're going to need a +1 for the main Carthaginian army, I guess. And you know what? I forgot to take that sucker into account for the battle. Carthage should have been at a -2. Oh well. I ain't going to go back and try to figure it. And our forces begin to recover. I'm still pissed about the useless not being on the other side of disorganized. A lot of little things about this game that anger me. You know, there's things I like about it. There's no question. There's no reason I wouldn't be saying, or there's no reason I'd be saying, hey, I'm thinking about trying to port some of the systems from this over into Imperium Romanum. I think the core movement system is really, really awesome. And the actions and everything. It's just, I don't know if I'm getting enough of an experience out of it. One thing it does is Imperium Romanum and this are kind of boring. There's not a lot happening. It's an Ancients game in the operational level, and honestly, the forces aren't, you know, playing these big games of maneuver for the most part. And it pretty much comes down to, hey, let's throw them against each other, fight a battle. The battles tend to be fairly random and perhaps very decisive. That all works fine. But what it ends up kind of being is kind of flavorless. You're not seeing those mass drives of panzers, you know, across the board. You have no front lines. So how do you make up for that? Well, one of the ways that you make up for it in a game, and maybe one of the things that's kind of cool about this, is some of the fiddliness. Some of that takes the place of the kind of thinking that you'd have to do, say, I don't know, playing Stalingrad, you know? Okay, crap, I found a place where my reading comprehension failed here. By the way, I've got the air conditioner on, so that's good news for those of you who want me to play more. Bad news for those who don't. I'm a lot less grouchy and frustrated when playing, but other aspects of my life kind of suck when I've got the air conditioner on, so I'm less willing to go swimming and stuff like that, and sit outside and enjoy myself, because I become weak. Okay, so the problem here is I'm only allowed to choose one of the 3 choices Sicilians, mercenaries, or Libyans. And I've been doing Sicilians and mercenaries. Sicilians, because of the amount of territory I own on the board, would give me 8 Sicilian infantry. Mercenaries will give me 2 dice, which is going to average higher than 8. So I'm going to go with that. It also gives me the opportunity to get some cav. But if anything, that's just helping Syracuse, and Syracuse is struggling, so we're not too worried. So I'm going to get 5 of each, and I'll take a bunch of Greek cav and what? Who else do I get here? Etruscan infantry. Forgot to tell you. Okay, so theoretically there's supposed to be a chit pick before these, and I do that in my head. But nobody needs to raise navies. They're pretty much filled up on navies at this point. Next turn, if Syracuse is planning on going across, they might do the navy action. Of course, they're going to kind of telegraph their action by moving this way, so maybe Carthage will build up a navy too. I don't know. Carthage only picked up Libyans, and that means I get all my chits in the cup. I get the Hanno chit. I also have the other 2 leaders. I'm still cautious, though, over here. So, and the leadership hasn't changed. So what I've done is I've assigned them each to fleets, the new leaders. I can't just replace the armies, I don't think. I don't know. I've got a pretty decent army leader here in, let's get rid of this dumbass. Not in him. Himmelco is actually pretty decent. I should have had a dumbass there, too. I don't know where they go. I guess here. But yeah, there might have been an argument if I had another army or something coming where I'd want to build that up and put another force in play. But I don't have the counters right now. I don't have the commitment, even though I don't know, there are pluses on the Carthaginian commitment table. Syracuse attacking independent or Carthaginian cities. I think I forgot that last turn, but it's in play. It was I added it this turn and it didn't help. So, well, I filled up what I could take, which was 5 of these. I could add to my Carthaginian forces, but in a sense I don't want to do that, particularly if not for any great reason, but because I think Syracuse might sail across, and that might be the game. If I fortify that too much, I don't know. He's just got no reason to come in. So I guess we'll go from here. Okay, it looks like we're going to get an early start on things. I set out with, well, I got one of these naval leaders that I can't really use. But then I got a siege attrition, which badly hurt the Carthaginians. But then Agathocles swung through here, taking 1 loss. Probably should have been 2. I see that column down. Let's take another one there. Due to attrition. And now I'm going to make my swing into place to try to start my attack on Carthage. In order to do this, I think I have to land here and try to set up a siege there. Now, after I reached here, I switched to command of the boats because I've got a better leader, and swapped with my son, giving him the army. And now I'm about to sail. Now, this sailing is going to be painful. Remember, these are like 5 each. So, 1, 2, 10 is 52, 53, 54, 556. 91, 92, 93, 94, 95 to there. I'm still not close enough. You gotta be within 1 space for a naval invasion. So I'm in the 90s. That gives me like a +9 on the table. That almost insists, or assures, that I'm gonna have naval problems here. Okay, well, let's see if I can roll low enough to not get too bad a case. Plus 9 puts me at 10. I'm going to be scattered down here, and that gives me a scattered marker. I don't know if that finishes me. And yes, I'm disorganized. See if there's a naval movement. Alright. Let's roll a continuation because maybe I can recover if I get one. Now I can swap back with my leaders. Take over the land force, which is what I really want here. And I think I succeed. I'm going to have to look at the rules, make sure that I can recover. Well, wait, recovery. Reform scattered units, I can do that. And that has a recovery check too. I'm pretty sure, yeah, movement has one. So I check again, and now I'm screwed. And I'm stuck out here, but I've made the crossing. Now, the next one was Himilco. Now, I had him in charge of the navy at Carthage. With the idea that, well, I could intercept if, you know, an invasion's done right at Carthage. But it's not. It's done over here at Hippo. So I swapped with Hanno. I can do that, as far as I can tell. You're allowed to swap the commands between Navy and Army with two people. You don't have to worry about any kind of precedence there. And marched up here. And took an attrition of 1 point. By the way, those tracks are working very well for this. The only danger is me starting to count the numbers instead. And there's the danger of me forgetting to mark the loss from the attrition that I took. That's always going to be a problem to remember. Now I need a continuation to attack, and I get it. And this may be a pretty damn big battle here. Let's go into details. Shit. Son of a bitch. Okay. I don't know what's what. This is my fleet. This is this shit disorganized. We haven't done a battle out. I'll leave this out here for now. This is here. We got leader checks. I'm going to use dark for the Carthaginians, and I have to find the battle charts. God! Too many fucking charts in this game. Alright. So we do our leader checks, and this is all the same pretty much as the last game. 7 to 7, so nobody gets an advantage there. No subordinate combat ratio. Well, I gotta count my combat ratio here. And this is where you'll see these charts and you see if they're any better. So here, 6, 15, 18, 23, 30, 37. I need calculators in this. It's like Europa Universalis in that sense. 10, 14, 24, and then 12 more is 36. Carthage is attacking, so they're going to get a penalty because they're 1 point less. So I mark that by using dice as markers or something. Okay. Cav superiority. What do we have for Cav here? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 to 12. That's a 2 point difference in the clear in favor of Syracuse. Now the Cav chart got removed from where it's useful to over here. 2 point difference isn't going to help. Elite units. Just the Carthaginians have an elite contingent. So that neutralizes. And now the biggie, the after battle status. That's disorganized, which I believe is 3 in favor of Carthage. I can find that here. Disorganized, battle defense +3. So now we make a quick roll, and we get a 10, and our result is going to be 15% losses for Carthage, 25 for Syracuse. Is that going to be a major battle? Probably not, just because the strengths were high enough. The chances are we're just going to see a normal defeat there. However, I don't know if a disorganized to a disorganized. No, it retains its value. I didn't know if there was any cumulative effect. So essentially, this is going to become disrupted, and this is going to stay disorganized. We can make a quick leader loss check. I'm going to do the calculations. Well, I'll do the calculations so you can see them as well. Syracuse had a +1, but he's still at a 9, so that's fine. So now we're going to see the percentage loss. Well, we add them all together this time. 6, 7, 8, 9, 18, 23. And these are 25%. 5, I'm going to take 6 losses, and I have to actually apportion them. And I'll put that there to help me keep that. 6 losses. Here's the pain in the ass with this system. I've got to do all kind of crap to calculate 6 losses. So this is just among the infantry. I've got 3 different contingents. That's going to be 2 off each. So I got all this shit to do. This goes down to a 3. See, the piles are getting annoying. At least trying to do it one-handed. I think I've gotten everybody there. So now I go to the cav check, 9 and 5. Now, I could have taken cav instead of infantry losses, but I really like cav, so I don't really want to do that. That's 14 at the 25, 3 for cav. I gotta split that. Well, there's 2. There's 2, and I add 4 to this, so I've taken 10 total losses, and I gotta try to remember what the hell I have here, and I've got things all over the place in messes because I'm trying to do it one-handed. Okay, let's compare. Here's the other methodology. I've got Army 1 here, and I'm taking 15%, and I've got 10, 14, 24. So that's 3, 4 losses. Again, I have to mark it down, and I have to split it among, it looks like 3 different contingents. 1, 2, 4 different contingents. 3, kind of nice thing about 10s is I can do this to them, and 4, I have to take the elites as well, I think. Okay, for the cav, I have a dozen cav, and the same 15% indicates 2 cav, so these slide down 1 each. I don't worry about the numbers on them. And that's 2 cav. Losses are 6 to 10, that's not going to be a major battle. It's not far. So indeed, that's what happened here. I've got to retreat with these buggers. Fleet's still kicking off here. This siege is done. This crap's out of there. We'll put it all away when I've got fingers. Where does this guy want to retreat? He has no really good answers. I guess he'll retreat towards Utica in the hopes of being able to somehow lay siege to that. He's not going to have another marker, though. He's used both his markers, so he's kind of screwed. And that's without me having built any forces in Carthage. I have to remember to add this 6 to my army. And those are my losses there. I forgot to add 1 to the combat result. It's not in my normal die roll modifiers. It's down here in the special Carthage game only modifiers. I don't know. Given that they print these specifically for each game and put the special rules in there, I would kind of wish that they were more conglomerated in, because I know all of this doesn't count. Some of this, things like command efficiency and discipline, these were in the other games. So that's why I keep forgetting that, is because it's been segmented out where it used to be baked into the die roll modifiers for the system. You could see that all mattering if they didn't put any system specific at all in these charts and just said, you know, here's the chart for all the system, and that would be irritating. But given that it's baked into the particular game, I think it would have been nicer to keep it in the same kind of ordering that it used to be. Certainly, that's, you know, I'm about 50% on catching that correctly. No political effects, nothing like that, except that I kind of have to remember that a battle was won, but it wasn't a major battle. That might affect, in fact, does affect, I think, some of this shit here. Nope. It would affect the Punic War. It doesn't seem to affect either of these. It doesn't affect any of this, so we're not going to see anything like that. All right. The next activation was low-ranking Hanno, who's over here in charge of a boat. I passed with him. That's one of the things, this scenario in particular, but some of the others too. Quite often, you've got activations that you just don't want to use. That's okay. I mean, you know, if you had these pieces in an I go, you go type game, you might never use them. Well, that's all that's happening here. Your opportunity to use them is just more limited. It's at one moment and you choose not to. Then I got me an augury, and I rolled. Got an 8. Active Argentinium, which is this. If somebody had attacked to this, these guys would join the other side at this point. Well, that converts if it hasn't been attacked, or if it's been destroyed, over to this no turning back. The Navy is destroyed. I don't know what's up with the leader. But if Syracuse has its leader in Africa and there are Syracusan squadrons there too, all the latter are burned down. I don't know where my leader's going, but I just lost my entire Syracusan fleet. Now this is the historical, this is what the tyrant did, is that he ordered all the boats burned so that there was no way home, so that the troops wouldn't lose heart or something. I guess I'll put him in the nearest place. I'm not quite sure what he's supposed to do, but there we have it. I just got a Hamilcar activation, and I can do treachery here. I have my guile back for the turn, but I don't need to. I can do an involuntary surrender, and anything but a 0 is going to succeed here. And so I do. Now, this takes away my opportunity to pillage the territory, or to loot the city, or whatever you want to, the right term for this is. All that's left here was the city militia. If there was something else there, it would run home, but that's all I got left. So I've taken another Carthaginian city, I guess. And we'll be getting another action shortly. However, this was, I do get a continuation actually off this, I believe. That's not it. This was a involuntary surrender. I actually don't even have to be sieging him to do this. I have to roll less than that in my campaign, but I get a +2 penalty on that because the surrender was accepted. So that'll put me, do I need a 4? Yes. And I get to keep going. And we're going to start moving down and trying to take Syracuse itself. Syracuse isn't worth it, and I'm using this involuntary surrender all over the place now. I just marched down here, walked next door, hey, I'm still in, and I actually got a roll that'll allow me to keep going. I'm going to try to take as much of the empty areas in Sicily as I can, and that's going to be a huge amount of victory points. That makes it into I must take Carthage to win. I can lose everything else, I think, but it kind of makes this a do or die. If I take Carthage, hey, maybe I can get them to agree, give me all of Sicily, or I'll burn your home down. See, we did quite well there, taking the whole north coast. Now I'm not yet laying this under siege, and I may just start taking more territories. Those cities are worth 3 points each. Everything in Sicily is worth 3 points each, except Syracuse, which is worth 5 to the Carthaginians. Well, geez, I've won them all. Looks to me like we're moving into the last 307 turn. Carthage just grabbed almost everything. Hamilcar got another activation and swept through in a whole bunch more. Really good die rolls there on the continuations, at least. The other thing, well, he didn't fail. But it seems not terribly worthwhile to go after the neutrals, but sweeping through these, I'm depriving Syracuse of the possibility of Sicilian troops. But, you know, unless they really get control of most of the island, they're better off using the mercenaries anyhow. There is an army here, but it's not terribly impressive. However, the Carthaginians have been weakened greatly, and they're not allowed to put more troops in here because this is down at 0. They are allowed to build a lot of troops up here with the home army, but because they've taken losses there. It starts, you know, it really becomes quite simple to play once you kind of get the pattern down. And the turns don't take very long at all, but for this scenario. I'm sure for the bigger one, it's going to take a little longer. But this is not, some people had this, gave the impression that this is just some huge monster. Some of them obviously are going to have a lot of turns, like, let's see, the First Punic War or the Mercenaries War. Those are going to be big, long scenarios, but no turn really takes all that long. Even if it's got a lot of chits in the cup, they do still kind of flow kind of quickly. All right, we'll get the rest of this one in here after a break. Okay, and here we are on the final turn, 307 BC over here. Carthage actually moved to an aggressive stance, which means I can have like 4 armies. This actually is going to highlight one of the problems, one of the few problems with the tracks that I'm using here now. I'm allowed to roll up a bunch of Carthaginian troops, and what I did before was I kind of pulled everything I got and then moved them over into the boxes that they went into. It's not going to be that easy now. Basically, yes, I can pull them aside, but then I have to put them back away as I move them on the tracks. Alternatively, I could just assign them as I get them, which probably is what I'm going to do for ease. I can put 7 extra units in here, then I can raise up more armies. Now, I don't really need 2 more armies in Sicily, or 1 more army in Sicily, but I may want another army here in Carthage, because that's the way I can lose this game. I think I'm pretty much guaranteed to win the game as long as Carthage doesn't fall based on how much of Sicily I have. Even if, you know, the leadership over here that Syracuse has is, I believe, just this guy. My other son's over here. Now, I could commission him to, I guess, fly over or something, I don't know, and take command of something else. But there really just isn't a lot there. The Syracusan army is all here. The rest is just sitting here. There just really is not much, any hope other than by taking Carthage out, and that's pretty hopeless too, actually. Given this result, I'm going to be able to produce a lot of manpower on the chart. I've got plenty available to me, no problems on that side. Straight on the chart wasn't too bad, and I actually decided to only roll for Carthaginians, which formed up the mass of this new army. I'm still below the 50 that I'm allowed total on the board at any one time. I forgot to drop my Libyans by 10. Not that it matters much. because I'm not going to get there. And I got 10 additional Libyans, some of whom I put in the new army, most of whom I put in the old army, replacing the losses that had been taken. Remember, the numbers on these counters don't matter unless they're tens. Tens indicate a tens digit for me here. For the Greeks, Syracusans, not a lot of force, and it all has to come in Syracuse. I can't bring anything in over here except Libyans if I control cities, which I do not. My army is disrupted at the very least. Now there's 2 Carthaginian armies. By not taking any mercenaries, it means I didn't have to put anybody outside their home province, so I was able to throw the Hanno chit in here. That was a big iffy question, you know. I could have built enough forces probably that there's no way Carthage would fall to a siege. Well, there's some chance of it, I guess, here. I got a bunch of elephants in there that I really didn't need. You know, I wish I could put them up here. I went with less than half total. You know, if I add these, yeah, I'll leave it as it is. The thing is, the elephants might actually be very helpful in the army that actually wants to fight, as opposed to the one that's stuck in the city, where elephants are particularly ineffectual under a siege. So I think I'd actually like to, I'm going to switch my elephants up here, at least 7 of them, and take those Libyans back. Okay, so Himilco got an action, moved into Utica, into the area around it, didn't get a continuation or whatever. Can't read. Whatever, big dude. Started marching to go over to Carthage, got caught with an interception, and that's going to be crossing the river, but I had to take the attrition for that, and I started taking it, and I don't know, I think I took this, I gotta put one there. And then I realized, wow, all those cav that I had, the Greek cav, they're not real. Those were Iberians I had there. Too close a color. The Greeks and something else was blue. They were both Greek blue things in Rise of the Roman Republic, and just seeing these two together, I grabbed from the horses. I couldn't have that, and that would have actually affected some of the cav superiority. The Syracusans would have done a lot worse had they not had their cav present. They would have had a couple of penalties against them, and now they will too. The only thing going for them is they're facing the river crossing here. The Carthaginians are going to have that 3-point penalty. I was hoping to get a double envelopment here, but Carthage didn't manage to get the interception. Now, if they had been outside the city, they could have automatically done it, but being inside the city, they can't take advantage of the river line. And that would have been a big plus. Right now, I'm at +6 for Carthage in this attack. Oop, minus the river, make it +3. That's not good enough for my taste. But I got a bunch of elephants here. I got 10 elephants. We haven't seen these suckers in... Okay, I had 10 elephants. Oh, shit, I don't know which... I stole off this one instead of off that one. I need more counters. Something dies. Okay, well, I seem to have 3 elephants instead of 10. Fuck. Yeah, this one was right. Okay. No, I have 7 elephants, and we haven't seen this happen before. I'm going to be rolling on the war elephant table, and basically I think, committing 7 of these, and we see what happens with each one. First one, 9. That's going to add to my combat die roll, so I'm up to +4. I got to have a count for this somewhere. I don't really have a way to do that. 2. I'll eliminate an enemy strength point. That's going to affect perhaps the odds ratio, and this is going to be a pain in the ass to do. This is a really annoying series of things. That's 2 rolls. Third roll, 1. Eliminate a friendly infantry and an elephant. Okay, so that's going to cost me 2 of these. The elephant goes down, and I'll take an infantry as well. And you see how it's going, and I'll finish that up and let you know what the results of it all were. And it was a Carthaginian major battle victory, and I forgot to do cav pursuit there. Cav pursuit. What do we got? We only got 2 cav here. We've got 9 here, I think. That makes +7 in the flat. I can't remember how pursuit works anymore. Shit. So many little rolls and my head's killing me here. You know, it's easier if I just play it and don't video it. Of course, why would I bother? Okay. That's a percent. Gotcha. Okay, so the pursuit factor was, I don't remember, I think it's 2. I think there was like a 7-point difference. So 2, so it's 14%, whatever that's supposed to be. It gets rounded down. So it's an additional 10% loss that I accumulate again. Yeah. I'll just do it. But I do have to add the 2 casualties here on these pieces. Alright, a little bit of maneuvering down here in Africa where I can't remember his name. I can't read it. Oh, this Syracusan dude, Hamilco, catches him, actually marches into him, but he's evaded. Well, actually he failed to get his continuation so he could attack. Meanwhile, Hamilcar down here has taken a couple of cities, but hasn't done all that much. We're really kind of at the, there is not much left. Whatever dude is, I can't read. I'm kind of ill from the air conditioner. It does this to me. It gives me like a head cold when I basically can't live with it, but I couldn't operate properly without it. And we play out the rest of the chits. I got a dude who I can't read. I can read it over here. I can't read the counters. Agathocles. I got his activity. That was the last thing allowed. That was the last chit drawn. Actually, I had an augury before that, which gave me a small handful of Etruscan ships, 3 extra Etruscan ships. But there's nothing I can do here. I can't take Carthage with only 1 chit. It's over. It should have been over before. I just wasn't thinking very clearly, which is not surprising. I think this is a scenario where you want to launch that naval attack early. I was a little worried that the naval operation would basically destroy Syracuse's forces, but to tell you the truth, the way the naval rules work, the naval movement, well, look, I could have lost a quarter of the force. I could have lost, I could have gotten a bad result maybe off of being blown off course in terms of ending up somewhere where I could get intercepted or something. Alternatively, if my navy was dispersed or something like that, the scattered result, I think Carthage could have attacked it with an advantage. But the truth is, I don't know if I see much chance for Syracuse in this scenario. Carthage has such a capability to build up their forces that if you struck too early, you wouldn't have a very large Syracusian force. And taking a big city like Carthage out is not easy if it's garrisoned. I don't know if it's likely to happen, even if I had 3 or 4 turns of sieging it, assuming that that could be possible and that, you know, there weren't forces rising up here to contest it. Big armies and such not. There's a fair size modifier, I believe, to the climate. which is what? +4 if there's a force with a leader in Carthage, +3 if it's anywhere else in Africa. You know, chances are we're going to see an extra army being able to be built. And yes, it won't be at the top of the quality level. It may be crappy like the one that's sitting in Carthage right now is. But with 2 armies, you could come out with the Carthaginian army, maybe push the attack out. You'll at least disorder the enemy. Almost anything disorders someone. And then the second blow would hit with significant force and probably, maybe not win the battle, but at least keep the Syracusans in really tough shape in terms of being able to hit them from inside and out. And maybe you might be able to combine the two, although that doesn't terribly help because you use the worst of these, and numerical superiority isn't a really big deal. The big deal are really the quality of the troops and stuff like that. Plus, there are elephants in here, and elephants, we saw, they can wreak a little bit of havoc, give you a couple extra pluses. They're not going to give you any minuses. So I think this is a pretty damn hard scenario for Syracuse to win. It's also not terribly interesting. That may be a general case that I'm feeling with most of this game, is that, wow, every scenario kind of feels not terribly interesting to me. You know, in some ways that may be hex grids trying to handle situations where there's no contiguous front. I know that games like Empires in Arms and Europa Universalis, to some extent Grand Sequel, but I wouldn't really look at that as much, make a lot more sense to me with their area movement. Now, point-to-point's essentially area movement, but I never like it as much because it's not as clear. But with something like this, I feel like I'm doing such weird things. On the other hand, it enables you to pass through what would be an area and usually blocking terrain in, or a blocking situation in most point-to-point or area control or area games. So I think you know, there's something to be gained with playing on a hex grid. There's no question of that. You can see the possibility of you know, slipping around and not necessarily being caught, and it's a lot more visual than, you know, hey, I slipped through the area, can you intercept me on a dive roll or something like that? Even though the net effect may be the same, if I'm within 3 hexes or 4 hexes of you, I get a roll on the die, but I don't know. Anyway, this scenario, like I said, doesn't look terribly well balanced, and there's not really, you know, a whole lot of different options. I'm fearing that Carthage in general is not going to be as interesting as the Rise of the Roman Republic one, just because the need to sway regions in the scenarios for that one is so much more interesting than just capturing territories. I do like the political rules that are present for the tribes and such not, and I don't think anything in here has anything quite like that. The politics seems to be driven off the augury chart, which, you know, to me that feels almost Joe Miranda-ish. But there's a much richer auguries chart on the First Punic War, so maybe there'll be a lot more there. Plus, it's long as hell. We're going to do something else before we jump right back into this. Cleanup in this game between scenarios and such not, just like in SPQR, because of the huge burden of different counter mixes, etc., it can be kind of painful, as is setup where you're hunting for everything. Doesn't really help though. You know, it's not like, so much is getting put aside because I'm going to play another game here. It's really not a big deal. The biggest deal is getting, you know, all the different strength point counters into the right locations in my little tray. All right, we're going to send this one up, and I'm not sure when the next one's coming, but it'll be soon enough.